So now it's headed to the Supreme Court. Joining us from Washington, Adam Sessler. He's the host of G4 Network's X-Play and editor-in-chief of G4 Games Content. Here with us in the studio, CNN senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin. So lay it out for us. What are the issues that the Supreme Court will have to consider here?
Well, there are a bunch of them. This is a really new area for the court. First of all, are video games First Amendment expression? The court has never dealt with that. New technologies create new issues for the court. Also, the issue is, what are the free speech rights of people under 18? That is an unsettled area in the court. And finally, the question is, has the state of California proved that violent video games present such a threat to 18-year-old kids and younger that it deserves a new regime of censorship in the United States?
That's interesting. And Adam, I want to get your perspective on that. There's an interesting opinion piece in USA Today that quotes the American Academy of Pediatrics, and what they say is kind of startling. They say that the connection between game violence and aggression is as strong as the medical association between cigarette smoking and lung cancer. Do you believe that these games actually make children more aggressive and violent in their everyday lives?
Well, I think if you look at juvenile crime statistics, which have gone down dramatically over the past 15 years, it really doesn't seem to bear what the American Pediatric Society is saying, although I would like to, give them some sort of credence there. I think what it comes down to is this anxiety that surrounds the interactivity of video games, which is so much different than the passive way of enjoying other forms of entertainment, like movies, like music, like television, that seems to give, I think, an older generation a sense of anxiety that maybe there is some sort of correlation. You're going to act out, what's happening there on screen. Though really, once again, if you look at what's been happening with juvenile crime, it really doesn't seem to bear itself out.
Jeff, speak to that argument that he just made there, this idea that the interactivity of it makes it different. We don't have federal laws or even state laws banning young people from seeing movies. They're voluntary restrictions put on by the MPAA. But the interactive nature of it, that if you're actually engaged in the virtual violence, it might have more of an effect on you than simply sitting back watching it.
Well, that's certainly what the California legislators thought and Governor Schwarzenegger thought when he signed the law. The question is, how much proof do you need in order to persuade the court that it justifies a restriction on speech? I mean, usually the courts say, look, if the legislature thinks that this is an appropriate thing to do, we defer to the legislature. They're the ones who are elected by the people, and we want to stay out of it. The problem here, though, is they also are very careful about restrictions on speech, which I think it's clear that this is. So I don't know how much proof they are going to require. They usually defer to legislatures, but when it comes to restricting speech, they tend to be a little more searching in their scrutiny of what the legislators do.
And Adam, this will be interesting because I guess one of the questions will be, and you refer to it as a slippery slope, where do they draw the line? Right now, apparently, they propose to ban games for minors that involve killing, maiming, dismembering, or sexually assaulting an image of a human being. And they specifically name some of the games, like Manhunt and Grand Theft Auto, games that the industry itself rates as mature or adults only. What is wrong with just limiting the sale of those to minors?
Well, the thing is that there's actually very good self-policing inside of the games industry itself. It has its own rating system, E through M, M obviously being for the most adult or inappropriate games for young children. And the FTC just put out a report at the end of last year saying that the video game industry, as opposed to all other forms of entertainment industries, are doing a very good job of not marketing inappropriately to young children, of retailers actually restricting the sale of these M-rated games to minors that come into the store without a parent. And then inside those game consoles themselves, there are parental controls that would just prohibit any M-rated game from being played on that console if the parent deems that it's inappropriate for their child. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is that, once again, the state is trying to supplant the role of parenting in determining what is and is not appropriate for their child. And also, even with what sounds like very precise descriptions of inappropriate content in those games, it is vague enough that it will be unclear to a retailer, to a game developer, to a game publisher, what is or is not good. And I don't believe the state has made a very good claim as to what regulatory body in California will look at these games that are sold nationwide and say that is okay, that is not.
One reason why the movie business has been so rigorous with its rating system is they want to avoid this situation. Yeah. They self-police, so they keep the government out of it, and they've been successful so far. The video game business, not as much.
Video games before the Supreme Court. Who would have ever thunk it? Jeff Toobin, Adam Sessler, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks.